Before we get into the midweek rub, we here at Triple M Footy would like to pay respects to Sam Landsberger. Damien?
Yeah, we will, Rabsy. It was shattering news yesterday. A young journalist, 35-year-old, a very, very, very good journalist, an outstanding journalist, one who had the respect of the people he worked with and for. He had the respect of the people he wrote about. He was very, very dogged in his story gathering. He loved journalism. He loved the craft of journalism. He loved the Western Bulldogs Football Club. And in many ways, what he had done was just the beginning of what was going to be an outstanding journalistic and already was career. And from everyone at Triple M, we give our sincerest of thoughts to his family, to his friends, to his colleagues, and to anyone who is now knowing him and now dealing with his loss.
Vale Sam Landsberger. The final home and away round of the season, with 9 teams already having sealed their fate, with another 9 still wondering if and where they sit in the top 8. The Swans will be looking to solidify their great season by finishing in top spot, while Adam Uze and the Tigers will be waiting for the final siren to finish the rot. Liam Shields bows out down in the map, Port Adelaide's mascot copped a tap, and the biggest game of the year is down in the rat. To look towards the final round of the season, this is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with St Kilda Hall of Fame superstar Lee Montagna.
Yeah, g'day Rabsy. Yes, always an interesting week for the playing groups. There are some that are gearing up for a massive final series, and there are some that are just planning their end of season holidays and where they're going, who's coming along with them, who they tell, and what they get up to. So it's always an interesting week for the guys that aren't playing finals.
Pack they're going out, Kit.
That's exactly right.
Collingwood and Carlton superstar Daisy Thomas.
Well, we need to get to the bottom of something with Damo, and you have the most influence in this room as it comes to the AFL. Why the hell are the Bulldogs and Giants playing at bloody Ballarat?
Well, before we get to there, AFL media superstar Damien Barrett.
Hello, boys. I can't answer that question, but it's going to put Ballarat on the national map, isn't it, from an AFL perspective? Because, as Rabsy did say, it is the biggest linchpin game out of the round, and the spin-off to the results in that game then have an effect on the Carlton St Kilda one that immediately follows it, and in fact probably starts around the same time it finishes or thereabouts, and then what could then shape the big game, Fremantle v Port, starting at 6:10 Melbourne time after that.
What do you got against the people of Ballarat? Good on them.
Nothing against the people. I feel that this was a round 23 fixture, absolutely, but this is potentially season-defining for the Bulldogs. It could be suboptimal conditions as opposed to under the lid at Marvel. I would just hate to think it all went awry, and I'm not sure who ticked off it from the big house and said, yeah, play your last game down in Ballarat.
Yeah. What if the weather is a factor? They've got the 3 big tall forwards. Sam Darcy's marking everything.
Well,
They've got
this is what I'm
Jamara, the most
concerned
exciting.
about.
And all of a sudden, imagine if it's windy and rain and the Dogs get beaten. And they're like, if it was under the lid, they would have kicked 150 points.
I'd look at it this way.
Yeah, well, this is what this is my concerns as well. Windy, can't hit a target, and then you got all the speed of the small GWS players. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
no.
I'm not manifesting it, but it just is a concern that I'm sure a lot of the Bulldogs fans agree with.
And not that we want to talk negatively too often here, but off the very top of our show today, but what would happen if the Bulldogs did lose and miss the finals?
Well, I don't think they'll be playing in Ballarat round 24 next year.
Some big repercussions.
It would make me look good because I said they wouldn't be playing finals. There was a long-winded way to get there.
There we go.
There was a long-winded way to get there.
threw their name about 6 weeks ago.
And you can say, told you so.
But I also had the retraction as well. So.
Yes. Don't write off the Pies as well. 200 points they need to make up, so they just need to beat Melbourne by 100, and then Ross can beat Carlton by 100, can't he?
100. Is that what you need?
Yeah.
200 points.
200-point turnaround.
You nuffy. You actually thinking about it?
No, he's not. He just has them. The numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers.
Yeah. We'll get your match predictions for round 24 coming up. Damo, there is a lot of news kicking around as well. Richmond, they're losing even more players. We'll touch on them. And Jack Viney's new contract as well. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Fair dinkum or fugazi, and your round 24 predictions still to come. But Damo, it is time for some news, and the exodus at Richmond continues. Dylan Grimes announcing his retirement.
Yeah, no surprise to that one, Rabsy. No great surprise when Dusty officially made it known he was also out of Richmond at the very least. We don't know what happens beyond that, but it's at Richmond at the very least. And then we get to the unknown beyond the weekend. And there'll be a nice celebration for both Dusty and Grimes on that occasion when they play the Gold Coast at the MCG on Saturday. And I hope the Richmond people turn up because they haven't turned up for every game this year, understandably, but they should turn up for this. And then you get to Joey and Days and Rabsy, the unknown around Shea Bolton, the unknown around Daniel Rioli, the near-known around Liam Baker, and Jack Graham is part of that conversation as well. It's a massive transformation of a football club, regardless of what happens next, in a way that they did not plan for some years ago when they put these guys, Bolton to a 28-year deal, a 2028 year deal, and to 2027 for Daniel Rioli.
Yeah, congratulations firstly to Dylan Grimes. Awesome career, 3-time premiership player, Jack Dyer medalist, All-Australian. So well done. I'm sure he's going to enjoy his retirement. But on the other points, is there any update? Shea Bolton has requested.
Clearly, what has transpired during the course of the week, the management has admitted they've been in conversation with the club about the possibility of it. It's a step short of asking officially for a request to trade. You hear this, that's now part of the public narrative. We know stuff goes on behind the scenes. And we've also seen a guy who has given every impression to me anyway, and I'm not on my own here, a person who's checked out of playing for the Richmond Football Club, and certainly in the Bolton case. I think Rioli's trying as hard as he ever has and seems to be invested. Bolton does not appear to be that way to me.
First of all, I think Dusty will appreciate having Grimes with him, because I think Dusty would have hated having the lap and all that on him. So I think that having Grimes by his side, he'll appreciate that. Look, I think this is an opportunity for Richmond. We already know it's been a changing of the guard with the players leaving. Now I think Adam Uze can maybe get some fresh air, and with a few of these senior players going, getting a whole bunch of kids in and actually making it feel like his team a bit more, because that is a challenge. And I think Uze has probably struggled with that, the transition of these premiership stars and then trying to wrestle with his own identity as a club. So I think that he gets the chance. It feels like they will all, and they maybe should accommodate them to leave, to get the draft picks in, to reload. They still have enough senior experience to lead them through this tough period. When you think about Broad and Vloston, they're going to have Tom Lynch still there. Taranto and Hopper, all of a sudden, are going to take leadership roles. So they've still got enough leadership. I think it's a great chance for them to load up on the kids and look at the next phase of their journey as a club.
You work effectively part-time in the list management space. Are you endorsing what could open up for the Tigers here with the draft picks that are attached to these players on the trade currency?
I think so, yeah. Especially with the one that makes it important is the Tasmania draft picks that are going to come in a couple of years. It's going to be so hard to rebuild while Tasmania are getting all these access to the young talent. So it probably is force Richmond's hand a little bit to fast track the rebuild, which I think everyone can understand. And as I said, because of the transition with their premiership players, it's maybe a bit of a way just to cut the tie a little bit, fresh air, young group, and then start again.
Decade-defining draft coming up for the Tigers. If they get it right, the next 5 to 10 years post could be set up for a lot of success again, as we've seen with some of the newer sides coming in with guns and however that lands.
And one more on that. People talk about this upcoming draft as being very even, but batting deep with a lot of good midfielders in it. Is that your take on it as well?
Yeah, that's true. There is easily right now 7 or 8 names that could be pick 1. So that means at pick 5 or 6, you could ideally be getting a player that you might have had rated 1 or 2. It's that even at the top. And then it's deep to about 30. The top 30, you'd be very, very comfortable with getting a player that you think would be a bona fide, 200-game AFL player.
Yep. Melbourne's going down a different path at the moment. They're trying to retain players after some disgruntlement being levelled publicly. One of those players is Jack Viney, and it hurts me to admit that Craig Hutchison was all over this. This was nothing but this suggestion that he was going to North Melbourne, nothing but a plea and a ploy to get more deals and more years at Melbourne, which he's now got till the end of 2028 on the back of the genuine interest from North Melbourne. So he already contracted for next year, now bump it out 3 more seasons to the end of 2028. It's going to be interesting, though, to see him running around at that season as a 34-year-old, because that's a slight leap of faith, I think, from the Melbourne Footy Club
100%.
to give him that.
Even Max Gawn getting extended, it snuck under the radar to 2027. I'd have looked at it. He's turning 33 in December, Max Gawn, and he's now got 3 more years to go. So they've shown a lot of faith, and probably fairly so for Viney and Gawn for what they've done for that footy club. But yeah, by the end of their tenures, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. I just wonder whether this whole Petrarca situation, they just regroup as a club. They sit down, they butter up, they all fall in love with each other again, or get everything off their chest and reload and have another crack next year with the same group of players, essentially, and adding in some more young talent. And I still wonder whether Dan Houston maybe changes his mind again once he realises that everyone's staying. Yeah. Once Petrarca, at some point, I think he maybe will declare that he's staying, and Melbourne will say,
any danger, Christian? It's been a week now, and more than a week, that he's been the most media-savvy man in the competition, is choosing to let this play out publicly.
When you're Jack Viney and you're going, I hope I can get 2-3 years, I'll pull the lever of Dad at North. Hey, you're interested, are you? And then also chuck in that, there's a bit of controversy around the footy club. Chuck in a 3rd year, I'll sign tomorrow. Away you go. Yeah, brilliant. Well played.
Well played. Fremantle. Now, we've watched them and we've talked them up, and you've got your connection there, Joey, and we're all on board there for a while until 3 weeks ago. Lost to Essendon unexpectedly. Lost to Geelong equally unexpectedly, given that it was at home. And then had a really good performance against GWS on the weekend just gone, but ultimately lost the game of footy 3 in a row and are now in a scenario where they actually need other results to go their way in order just to get back into the finals, and that's on the back of them needing to win their own game as well.
Sums up the season. It's right on brand, isn't it? It's one of those years. I mean, as you said, I think a month ago we all thought Fremantle were almost the second best team in the competition, the form they're in. Now, as you said, they need a result to go their way. They need one of the Bulldogs, Hawthorn or Carlton to lose, and then they win and they will play finals. But yeah, they've let it slip. And to be fair, they actually haven't played that bad of footy. Like Geelong, they were pretty good. They just couldn't close it out. Dangerfield late. The Giants game was a really high-quality game. Again, Jesse Hogan just ripped the heart out of them. The Essendon one's probably the one they let slip. They shouldn't have lost that one, and that's going to backfire on them.
If they don't make finals, that'll be the game.
Yeah.
30-odd points up, and then next minute, bang, 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 bang. See, Essendon were not in that game. They just had to shut it down for another 5 minutes, and they weren't able to.
Yeah.
That'll be the one if they don't make finals, which I'm not confident they beat Port Adelaide either.
As the last game of the season.
Second place Port Adelaide, who are playing to lock away a home final.
And as we do, we like to put everything on the table just to get all sides of all stories and the injuries that they've sustained recently to Tracy, to Pearce, who's been ongoing, and also to Darcy. Now, they're 3 big names at that footy club, but I'd argue they're not the reasons they lost the 3 games. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
So they've
we've
got
seen
themselves
injuries
only.
have taken a toll on most clubs, though, and when you're especially talking about Tracy, he's been one of the real focal points all season long. Great kick for goal, straightens them up on offense. But yeah, again, you got to deal and you got to do with what you've got. We saw Carlton do that on the weekend with half a second side effectively running around. It's just you got to find a way, and they get one last opportunity, which is good because the response needs to come. They just need to find a way to win.
And Joey, Sydney Swans almost can't lose top spot on the ladder, regardless of their own result and others. That's how well and how dominant they've been from a percentage perspective. The luxury now exists possibly for John Longmire to rest players. Brodie Grundy gives every appearance to me that he needs one. Will Hayward also too. He's been banged up since that Brisbane Lions game about 6 weeks ago or thereabouts. Chad Warner missed last week, wants to play this week after 1 week off with a calf awareness situation. The problem is, obviously, with the new structuring of the competition, a week after the home and away season, there's a bye, and then for a team that's going to finish top of the ladder, if it wins its first final, we'll have a week off again after that. Is it too many weeks off in short time, or are we just so finely tuned these days that I don't think it matters as much as it once did to just get these guys the rest they probably need, and then to have them come back as A-pluses anyway?
Yeah, that last point's probably right. We are evolving, continue to evolve in high performance where you can get the players right. They might do a heavy training block on the Friday, have their own match sim, but, take the contact out of it. All those things, I think, should be the right way to go about it. I would be selective if I'm Sydney. I'd pick the right players to manage, whether it's someone who maybe is a bit fragile, like a Dane Rampy that you can't afford to lose, who's had soft tissue injuries this year, a Brodie Grundy, players that are banged up. But there are other players that like the continuity. If it's Errol Goulden who just plays and isn't really going to get hurt most likely, just let them keep rolling. But I'd be selective with who I rest.
What camp were you in? Because I was always played. I just kept playing.
The
thought of 2 weeks off going into a final series, I wouldn't have liked if I could have gone out and played at least one of them. So,
but we know teammates would be better off resting them, freshen up, have a running session, and they'd be better off doing it that way.
Well, the Swans' final home and away game is against the Crows up at the SCG on Saturday night. We'll get your predictions soon, but up next, it's fair dinkum or fugazi and Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Damo, I'm going to start with you this week. Essendon should have given Dyson Heppel a farewell home game.
I say Fugazi on that. I think I'm in a minority. I saw the emotion attached to him doing the pre-match ceremony last week, and I see people like Essendon, great Matthew Lloyd have an issue with it, but I didn't mind it. If you're going to make the decision based on integrity of selection, I'm all for that as a starting point. So as sad as it was for Dyson, I didn't have the bigger an issue as others did.
Joey, this year's Brownlow winner will break the record of 36 votes.
Ooh, that is going to be close. I will say Fugazi, though. I don't think quite, but Cripps will get in the 30s, and so will Nick Dacos, but 36 is a big number, not quite.
Daisy, let's see if we can go 3 Fugazis in a row here. Luke Parker simply must stay in Sydney's best 22.
Fugazi.
Oh,
just purely for the fact I wanted 3 in a row. But no, fair dinkum. I think he's been, and what he's doing, allowing others to play different roles as well. He's integral part of that, still playing good enough football to be in their 22. So I say that's Fugazi. Fair dinkum.
Fair dinkum. Yeah. Heaney's been big, but his last 2 weeks, Luke Parker has arguably won them the last 2 games.
Yep.
The bottom half of the top 8 is stronger than the top 4, Damo.
No, that's another Fugazi, Rabsy. Look, the Swans have got their act together and they've got some big names to come back in. They'll get for the first final, I believe, both Papley back and also McInerney, and they've got Warner okay again. So, no, I like the top four, and I just have a sneaky feeling that one of those top four teams, GWS, could cause as much damage as anyone to come.
Joey, Darcy Wilson is closing in on the rising star race like Ariane Titmus in the 400-metre freestyle.
Oh, I'd like to say fair dinkum, but I think it's Fugazi. He was brilliant on the weekend, but there's a bit of recency bias there. His 10 weeks before that wasn't as strong as the start of the year. Definitely the best first-year player. Unfortunately, the way the rising star works, George Wardlaw and Ollie Dempsey, who's in his third season, are still ahead of him.
Daisy, Sam Darcy has the highest ceiling of any player in the AFL.
Oh, how do you say? It won't be a high ceiling to get in the door. Oh, geez, it's very close to fair income without a whole lot of thought to it. The upside and what he's already producing is unbelievable. He's only going to get bigger, stronger. If he can stay on the park for a long period of time, I think that's a fair income there, Rabsy. He looks like he's going to be a genuine superstar. 7 goals on the weekends. You know, he may already be on his way.
Almost there.
Yeah. When you think about a player's capabilities doing something we haven't really seen before, that's where Sam Darcy fits that mold. We might not see a player that tall be as dominant, ever.
I did the game when they played at the Western Bulldogs played down at Ballarat this year. I'm pretty sure it was. He rolled on his left foot on a windy day and just plugged one through the corridor. Bloke's 7 foot tall. You're not meant to do that.
Sticking with you, Days, Brisbane's inability to close out a lead could have already cost them the flag.
Yeah, fair dinkum. The double chance, I think, is going to be pivotal this year in the way that the season's gone. It's thrown up odd results. So they've got to win this weekend, lock away 5th position, get themselves a home final. But you've got one and done. And as I said, for those reasons, it may be a fair dinkum.
They're going to have to do something no other team's done, and that's win on the road 3 weeks in a row to win a premiership. They're going back to Adelaide 97, last team to do that. So awfully hard now.
Joey, St Kilda's second half against Geelong was a genuine Ross Lyon clinic.
No, giving Ross Lyon too much credit for that. That wasn't Ross Lyon. That was just a half where everything the boys touched turned to gold. To be fair, Geelong were just as ordinary as St Kilda were excellent. Frustrating to watch the Saints play like that. And if they put it all together for a full season, watch out. But it was exciting.
Damo, the Crows lost their composure after the Isaac Rankin hit.
Fair dinkum, but they also reverted to type when the pressure got ramped up to its extreme levels. They've done that regularly now in the past 2 seasons, particularly this year, and it's a very ordinary team that has only 8 wins and 1 draw, with only 1 match remaining of this team, and it was going to be season and going to finish second last. So, they didn't handle the Rankin moment well, but I understand that, and I'm a bit sympathetic to how they handled it because they were unhappy to see their man targeted that way.
And it is hard now because you can't get any retribution on a footy field. So
Yeah.
what do you do?
And you're down your best player.
Yeah.
So, but I think there's bigger problems at the club than that.
Joey, forget opening round and forget magic round, or what do we call it here? Gather round. The Geelong to Ballarat round 24 road double is the most glamorous in footy.
Yes, love it. Love it. Who's doing that, by the way? Who's doing the trip?
Barry.
Oh,
No, not Baz.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's Hev,
Peoples.
Tim Solly, K-Mac, Jono.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ethan.
they will have fun. they will have fun. That is a good road trip. It is indeed.
Damo, Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper have every reason to be flat about the direction Richmond has gone since they switched from the Giants.
You're coming up with a fair dinkum for me here, Rabsy. Yes, fair dinkum on that. To be sold the premiership pursuit dream by Damien Hardwick and so many other Richmond people, and then poor old Dimmer was so burnt out only 6 months after selling that dream, and he obviously rejuvenated after getting another offer after that. But they were sold a storyline that was not real. It was a fake storyline and a fair dinkum.
At some point, you have to
Take responsibility. They chose to go to Richmond. They weren't forced.
I had the question put to me a certain way. I answered it fair dinkum.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
See it slightly different, don't we?
Well, it was a good answer to the
Yeah,
question that was
it was.
posed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Daisy, after
You got a
seeing
career in this.
Jeremy McGovern and Tom Barras won't make the trip to the GMHBA Stadium this weekend, Geelong must be tempted to pick an 80% fit Tom Hawkins.
I think he's well underdone, which is the message coming out from a couple of the Cats people. So I don't think the temptation's there. If he was closer, absolutely. I'll tell you what it's going to reek of, though. West Coast recent record down there. 85-point loss and a 97-point loss in the last 2.
Really?
This one could creep over 3 figures pretty quickly.
Joey, the Dan Houston bump overshadowed another terrible incident at the showdown, the Port mascot getting punched by a Crows fan.
It was a teenager too, wasn't it? A kid?
Yeah.
A Crows fan? Yeah.
I think people sometimes don't understand that there's people inside these things, though.
Yes.
Like,
I bet.
Yeah.
Damo, I'm going to play you two bits of audio from Clarko. This is him at his presser.
We never comment publicly about any player that we're either trying to pursue or otherwise. I don't think that's fair on the player. I don't think it's fair on the club.
And this is Clarko the very next day on SEN.
We want anyone that's going to help us in that space. But as you said, there's half a dozen players that that have been successful, that have had really, really strong careers. Jack's part of that, but you mentioned them all last segment. You know, Ollie Wines, we'd love to have a
there's
chat.
a Luke Parker.
Luke Parker. There's Dane Rampy coming out.
Okay, so that's 4 players. Clarko must have a different concept of publicly naming players to the rest of us.
I can only answer this one way. Fair dinkum. Yeah. He's got a few problems, Clarko. When we preview the North Melbourne game after this break, when they're playing Hawthorn, I wouldn't mind
Not
getting
again.
Joey. Well, Joey's his greatest defender. You are too,
well,
Daisy. He's
what-
won 3 matches for a second year in a row as North Melbourne coach.
And I argue that's a pretty good result.
Oh, please.
You're so
What hope are you
cynical.
selling next year after 2 years of Clarko?
More than you.
Well, there is none.
Okay, well, I'll sell a little bit.
We'll get those
Anyway,
predictions
fair dinkum
soon.
to your question,
All right,
Rosie.
the final one here, Dave. Actually, I'm going to ask you all.
Oh.
Every person in the footy media would have enjoyed Nathan Brown copying the mediocre treatment on the Sunday rub.
Fair income. Deserved it.
Fair drink. Fair drinking.
Oh, yeah, fair dinkum.
Did Brandy take it well?
We wait to see this week's mediocre.
Uh-oh.
I feel not.
Well, when the guy puts it together, texts him saying they don't want this smoke. I think we might be in it. We'll get you round 24 predictions coming up next, kicking off with Melbourne versus Collingwood. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. As always, you can listen to every single game across round 24 on the Listener app and on Triple M. Kicking off Friday night, Joey, Melbourne versus Collingwood.
I tell you what I'm looking forward to in this game. Nick Dacos needs 3 Brownlow votes just to give himself a chance, and he will run around like you have not seen anyone. He'll have 20 at halftime. Take that to the bank. I don't care about the result. Neither team can play finals. I just want to see Nick Dacos poll 3 Brownlow votes to make Brownlow night that because Daisy's already gone with it, Damo. It's going to be a 3-way tie in the Brownlow.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
It just makes
the
sense.
three?
I just worry that
Cripps,
Cripps and Dacos are just kicking
Dacos.
away a little bit. It'll be a head-to-head race.
Neil. Who else did I have the other
And
day?
Sarong, was it?
Sarong, yeah.
And where have you got Heaney, who's ineligible?
Nah, I reckon he'll be further back than people think by round 15. I think his first half of the season was outstanding. Then there's like a 6-week period where he's pretty pox in and around the suspension, and then he's come good again.
He might have got 6 votes in the past 2 weeks.
It might be 10, not enough.
And your thoughts on the game,
Oh, yeah,
boys?
Collingwood Melbourne.
Yeah, we've just gone.
Yeah,
I'll
we've got to
tip
go.
Collingwood for the sake
Yeah.
of giving a tip because I love my pies.
Yes!
And now they can't play finals.
Oh.
this year.
No, they can.
Oh,
200
yeah?
points.
So they need to win this by 140 and then hope St Kilda win by 10 goals.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
with
a
you.
chance.
Will Melbourne tag Nick Dacos and ruin it?
I'm leaning toward Collingwood too in this game.
Yeah, Collingwood.
Geelong versus West Coast, Damo down at GMHBA Stadium.
It doesn't matter how many people Geelong choose to rest or not rest, but they'll be winning this game of footy and securing a top 4 spot.
Yep.
Yep.
Richmond versus Gold Coast Days. A few of the Tigers
I
will
like
be
this.
waving the fans goodbye.
Yeah, they will be, and also coming up against their old coach on a big day. I'm leaning towards the Gold Coast, but I think this is a game that the Tigers could pinch. I'm going to put the Tigers as my outsider of the weekend.
I reckon Dimmer would have given the Suns boys one hell of a spray. Told them they still haven't put their big boy pants on. They still haven't manned up yet. I know Damo's been on it for a while and they've been frustrating. I think they win this game to give everyone false hope going into 2025.
Well, they still haven't yet hardened the you know what
No,
up,
that's
which
right.
he also used the phrase
that was
of.
the one.
And look, I've got a theory when it comes to tipping. You cannot tip bad teams. So these are 2 bad teams, but Gold Coast is less bad than Richmond, so Gold Coast.
Well, I'm going to stick with you, Damo, because you forecast talking about this game. Hawthorn versus North Melbourne down at Launceston.
If the Hawks are serious, it'll be 133 points. Well, it will be.
What if North are serious?
If North is serious, it'll be 121 points deficit. Yeah.
I'm tipping the Hawks, but not with that level of confidence.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. Hopefully it's competitive, but the Hawks will.
Why would it be competitive?
Well, because North have been competitive, Damo, in like 9 of their last
Have you
11
seen the
games. They've
ladder?
had 2 blowouts.
If 3 wins,
There's
And
competitive.
19 losses.
Would it make a difference if they won 6 games or 3 games going into next year?
Yeah, it would actually.
about their
It'd be
footy.
double what they've won the past 2 years. Yeah.
Wins don't matter next year. It's about their footy is improving.
How
It will
far
go.
You're too
away?
accepting of people and clubs that are no good.
How
Because
far away are they
there
from?
has to be teams every year that are no good, Damo. Not everyone can win every
North's
single
bad
year.
every year.
Yes, they have been.
How
Players.
far away are they from playing finals?
They could play finals in 2026.
So not as far away as
They
Hawthorn.
could. They could. The Hawks are playing finals this year.
Brisbane versus Essendon, Daisy.
Again, no great confidence in either side, but I think Brisbane will just find a way, secure that 5th spot and a home finale.
Brisbane will probably win this comfortably, is my tip. They're my certainty.
I'm the same with Joey. Brisbane
Okay.
comfortably.
Yep. Sydney versus Adelaide, Joey.
It depends on how many Sydney rest. I might make this then my outsider, Adelaide Crows.
Ooh.
Just as one of those sort of final game of the year, nothing to lose. Adelaide, we know their offense is good. Sydney, if they rest 5 or 6, the result won't really matter. Maybe the Crows as a smoky. No real reason.
Again,
behind it.
here's the bad team thing. No, I can't have the Crows, despite what I can hear what Joey's saying, but I'm going to go the Swans.
I'm the same as Damien.
All right, let's get down to the big games on Sunday. They all are very meaningful. Kicking off Bulldogs versus the Giants down at Ballarat, Damo.
Daisy's talking me into thinking the Giants on the back of the wind component, which I don't even know if it's going to be a windy day. But
It's Ballarat, mate.
Let's go
It's
with
It'll
Giants.
be cold and
Giants.
windy at some
Yeah,
stage over
Giants.
the weekend. I'm concerned for the Dogs as well.
Yeah, so am I. It would be typical dog. It just feels like one of those Dogs games they lose, and all of a sudden, one of the best teams in the comp don't play finals. I'm nervous for the Dogs as well.
Yeah, I'm tipping the Giants for what it's worth.
Wow. Carlton versus St Kilda, Days.
Dear Lord. Surely the Blues can find a way to get themselves up and play finals. It would be disastrous if they have found a way to not do that from where they were positioned at the halfway mark. I think they do a lot better when there's not a whole lot of expectation. And again, low numbers, a list that people are going to go, okay, well, if you lose, fair enough, you had a lot out. It's almost, in some degree, a bit of a free hit. The Saints are playing well. I still don't believe they're world beaters by any stretch. I'm going to tip the Blues.
I think the free hit for Carlton was last week. I think now that it's been seen, it's been exposed a bit what they did. St Kilda are going to be prepared for it. It's much harder second week around than it was last week for the Blues. I think Ross Lyon, the Grinch, is going to do it again.
Do enjoyment
I think
So you're
St
back-
Kilda will. They'll beat Carlton, and then Carlton fans will have to sit through a
Do you
Fremantle.
like
Port
any
Adelaide.
side? You hate Collingwood.
Yeah,
you hate
I
Carlton.
hate every team. I hate
Likes
every
Gold
team.
Coast.
Yeah,
talking Gold Coast,
North. I feel sorry for those teams. Then Carlton fans are going to have to sit through Fremantle and Port Adelaide and cheer for Port Adelaide.
I'm going with Carlton. I just feel they gained something internally with what they did against West Coast, albeit being a low-quality opponent, but I think they will come back and beat the Saints.
Well, finally, Joey, it is that game. Fremantle versus Port Adelaide. Both teams are without some key forwards.
They are indeed. I'll have to tip Fremantle. Hopefully for the sake of them, their season's alive. And there is one result that goes their way, and then it makes it a live game. Otherwise, it's a bit of a fizzer if Fremantle can't make it going into that final game of the year.
I just love what Port's done all year, and the will to win of Zach Butters is empowering. And I'm going to tip Port regardless of what's at stake.
The will to win and lock up second spot as well. So home final, double chance. Port for me.
Well, you can hear every single game, including that triple header on Sunday on the Listener app and on Triple M special starting,
Rub?
Yes, 11 a.m. starting time for the Sunday Rub. So
11.
very,
Wow.
11
very
a.m.
early, and then we're throwing to that Bulldogs versus Giants game down in Ballarat. So make sure you're tuning in from 11 on Sunday. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Daisy and Damo.